Hi everyone! Welcome to Ignite, Light Up Your Life. Please be sure to like my video, subscribe to my channel, and share with your friends. I'm coming back today after a bit of a hiatus. The last time we spoke, I was trying to file unemployment at the beginning of the coronavirus quarantine, and that was back in March. Here we are now, September, and the summer has passed. Much has changed, but yet some things never do. And I'm here to talk to you guys about what has changed. What has changed for you since the world went dark? Now, for me, this has been quite a time of introspection and self-reflection and some growth and even some stagnation. After over a decade of working in naturopathic medicine, I had lost my position. And the reason I lost my position was not actually due to COVID. It was due to some really personal and screwed up stuff. And I've been grieving it. And so today I'm going to talk to you guys about that, and I'm going to talk to you how to move through grief when the future looks bleak in a way. We're all going through some major shifts in this world right now, and there's some changes coming around, and we are either going to move into a better future together, or we are going to move into a bleak one. And it's up to us to make that choice, much like our own personal lives. And my journey in the last 6 months has really reflected that of what is going on in the actual world itself. Oh my gosh, my cat. His tail. He's up here next to me. Simba, stop. So anyway, quit it. What do you want? Huh? Anyways, during the beginning of the COVID restrictions, most of us in Washington State, sorry about that, those of us in Washington State, where I'm from, we went into a lockdown, into a quarantine-style lockdown. Other states didn't shut down like my home state. Places that are Republican, most of them did not shut down in the way that Washington did. And here in Washington, we have shut down completely. Our county is still in phase 1.5, whatever that means. We have a mandate to wear masks, which in my opinion is incredibly fascist. People are screaming about fascism. Having a mask mandate is fascist. I mean, having been in healthcare for over a decade, I can tell you that the cloth mask is not going to stop the coronavirus. It might a little bit slow things down, but it's definitely not going to protect you. In the long run, I mean, think about every surface we touch with our feet and our hands, everything we come into contact with. It's ridiculous, but we won't go into that. Anyhow, I had worked in healthcare for over a decade, and when Corona happened, I remember watching the Chinese news, and because sometimes I watch worldwide news channels, and I remember thinking, these people are really going through something incredible, and America doesn't have to deal with that, right? America's not going to have to deal with something like that. And then my dad calls me up, and he starts talking to me about getting prepared for closure. I think to myself, closure? How on earth would America close? We wouldn't close. But I started doing some research, and all of a sudden Disney World shuts down, and that was the first thing, and that triggered me, and I thought, gosh, Disney World shut down, that's really odd. So I started digging a little deeper, and what I found changed my life, and it ended up lighting a fire in me that is completely unmatched. I thought that I had a fire for natural living, and integrative living. And everything that is going on now in 2020, everything that we are experiencing is a part of something much bigger than ourselves, which we can't even begin to comprehend. And it is a collaboration of the greatest energies in this universe. And the people that don't see it aren't looking. And having lost my job and my career after, over a decade of dedication to service in this industry really rocked my soul. And the reason I lost the position was very energetic. I had been in this world for so long, and I had brought a friend of mine into it who I didn't see was a wolf in sheep's clothing. And we had gone through some traumatic events together, and this person had a very tragic story, which I was a part of. And we can talk about that another day, but because of the tragedy that ensued in their life, they used that tragedy as leverage to gain fame in a way, to gain popularity, to gain free things, to gain trips, and to gain all these things. And everybody's like, no, everyone in my friend group and stuff was telling me that I was crazy to think that anybody would use such a tragedy for their own leverage. And come to find out, I was correct. In the beginning of the corona quarantine, my coworker who I had brought in as a dear friend, and I trusted them, they had zero medical experience whatsoever. Here I was with over a decade. I brought them in as a friend, and they were wolves in sheep's clothing. And they basically first took 3 months off after the tragedy, which is very, very, very understandable. Then a month is they worked with me. Maybe 2 months they worked with me in the medical. Then they took another month off. Which, okay, whatever. February comes around, February 2020. She comes up to me and says, "Friend, I just won a trip to the jungle to do ayahuasca, and I'm going to be gone for a month." And I thought to myself, okay, you just took off 4 months. I'm here by myself trying to help run this clinic, and I need assistance, and I'm behind, and I am getting really stressed out. This is unacceptable. So I go and I tell my boss, and my boss is gone. My boss gets upset, comes around to tell my friend, "Hey, no, you're not going to do this." My friend says, "Oh no, Lacy lied. I only said I would be gone for like a week or two." And so I get in trouble for lying, and this reflects badly on me, and time passes, and the time comes to where it's time for her to go, and it is the Friday of the lockdown, and we are locking down, and she's going to Costa Rica. And I say to my boss, we are a medical clinic, and this is the middle of a pandemic that we know nothing about. And I had, done my research, and I had, learned some things that were a bit disturbing, and I wanted to let my boss know. And I told her, we're going to close down. Things are going to hit the fan, and there's going to be some political stuff going on that you aren't going to understand. I don't fully understand, but we need to get on top of it. She kind of looks at me like I'm crazy and says, okay, whatever, but says, no, your coworker can go. So my coworker goes. On the Friday we close, and I kind of lost it, so the next week comes in, and I'm at work, and I'm looking at things, and I'm seeing things, and I mentioned something to someone about what was going on, because there was a lot of new restrictions and some really interesting coincidences, and someone who happened to be a Democrat had heard me on the other side, somebody that had rented from there, and they were very upset with me. And what they didn't know about me was I was also a Democrat at that time, and I was just really blown away about what was going on. And that person went and said something to my boss, who later called me. They had seen a live I had done on my own personal Facebook on my time off when I was done with work. about all the things that were going on in closing and the revelations I was having. And she calls me and says, I'm going to have to let you go. And during this time, I was also having some marital stuff going on because my husband is a war veteran and he was having some medication issues where he was puking every single day. And from his medications, and my boss happened to be his physician, and she totally dropped the ball on him, and it was just getting too much. So all these things combined ended up causing, issue. And she says, I have to let you go. And they let me go. And, she says it was due to Corona, due to the quarantine or whatever. Come to find out, the coworker that she'd been Wolf's Clothing, her husband now has my job. He has zero medical experience, but they just know how to work a crowd. And it's funny because her other best friend, my old friend, her other two best friends who were there during all the tragedy that took place as well, they're no longer friends with them because of some really horrible stuff that happened. And one of the things that happened was absolutely inexcusable. But nobody would believe us because we're not as fake as they are. They're like these high vibe, people. And I don't normally talk like that about people. But this instance has shown me the truth about people. And it's really taught me about friendships and relationships and careers and letting go and grieving. I've had a lot of grieving. I've done a lot of grieving during this period. It's part of why I took a hiatus from teaching you guys here on YouTube, and in my group and coaching, I needed to revamp. I needed to recharge and revamp. Like I said, I've been doing this since 2008. I've been on the ground floor of naturopathic medicine since 2008. And here I am for the first time in my life without a career, and I walked away too. I walked away from most of the things that I have believed in for a long time. I was a Democrat. I voted for Hillary. I was a Bernie bro. I loved Ron Paul. Never much into Obama, but, I was against Monsanto. I led the march against Monsanto in 2012. I was a part of Occupy Wall Street. I have been against the major conglomerate this entire time. And watching everything go down now, the way that it is completely surreal. So, the biggest lesson for me during this time has been that nothing is permanent and that nothing is what it seems. That seems pretty cliche, but it's really true. I thought I was going to be at the clinic the rest of my life. I thought I would be working in naturopathic medicine the rest of my life. I never thought I would grieve a job. I mean, my little brother killed himself. I know what grieving feels like. And I actually am grieving my career like I have been. I have grieved people, and it's also a loss of friendships. I lost my friendship with my boss. I lost my friendship with a couple coworkers. I lost my friendship with the coworker that was a wolf in sheep clothing. I lost a sense of who I thought I was. I lost a sense of what I thought my future looked like. The town I live in seems lonely and unbearing at this point because I've lost friendships due to the fact that I walked away, and all the political stuff. It's hard when you see things people don't see. It's hard when you look between the lines and you look deeper, And I've always been a proponent of truth, and I've always been someone that goes, says no in the face of evil, and stands up, and I don't take things for face value, and this just teaches me even more to not do that. And I just, I grieve for the loss of the world that we are leaving behind, because nothing's the same. They keep talking about this new normal, and it's like, I miss my old normal. I miss being able to go to concerts. I miss being friends with the people I've lost. I miss, having a good relationship with my mother even. I have relationships in my family which have changed because of all of this, and because of perceptions that can just always be based on inaccuracies, and there's been struggles, and my husband and I have been together in the house for 6 months, and luckily we both got part-time jobs now. Nothing that either one of us want to do, career-wise, but it's just what we have to do. Everything's still closed here, it's crazy. It's crazy. We have to wear masks everywhere we go, and that's been proven to, doesn't even help with wildfire smoke. So what is it going to do? I think vitamin D, zinc, and some vitamin C and some immune boosting herbs are a lot more helpful than the mask. But people will fight with me until, the dogs go home on that one, and I don't even know. I'm so tired of fighting with people. My whole perception of life has changed. And I have a lot of love for my country now that I didn't really have before. I was like everyone else. I always thought that Trump was kind of a whatever, kind of a brash asshole until all this happened. And, whether or not you want to get, we shouldn't get political on this channel, but everything is political now. And the thing that really changed my mind was I got sucked into the Facebook predator ring. Someone sent me some videos that changed my life. I never seen such horrors. People think that human trafficking is a conspiracy theory, but I'm here to tell you that it's not. I'm here to tell you that I've been fucking traumatized. Pardon my French, but this is my channel. I've been traumatized by some of the things I've seen on Facebook. Facebook has a predator ring, guys. I was sent a video of child pornography, and I saw snuff videos, children being killed and tortured, and children being raped, and just some of the most awful things I've ever seen, in groups full of these monsters that feed off of it, and then all of this stuff. And this was back in March, right when I lost my job, and it sent me down the rabbit hole, and before any of the things that have come out, I was down there, and I see. And I opened up we had this group called Exposing Facebook's Predator Ring, and it what we would do is we would go and flag the groups that were asking for child porn, and passing it around, and a lot of it were like Middle Eastern and stuff. And Facebook has this loophole that if you are from some other country, I guess, pedophilia is okay, that it will just allow it. And it's really fucked up. And so we try to flag these groups and stuff, and we ended up letting in a couple people that said they work for Facebook. Well, come to find out, they may have worked for Facebook, but they were part of the predator ring. And they sent one of my pages a video of this room that was encased in plastic, and it was actually a kill room. They were trying to get me to go up to Capitol Hill, of all places, and buy some weed. And right after that, it was like 2 weeks after that, CHOP happened. And everybody keeps talking about defunding the police. The first department to get defunded when they defund the police is the human trafficking department. And a lot of the stuff that went on at Seattle CHOP, Chaz, whatever you want to call it, was human trafficking. And one of my friends, she was actually on Dr. Phil recently. One of her sister went missing. Her only sister, I think, actually, went missing here in town. and was taken by MS-13 and potentially sacrificed for adrenochrome. And people think this is not real. I remember back when I was into occultism really hard, I was reading the Red Dragon by King Solomon, and I'll never forget, the way to become invisible was to take a black cat, a live black cat, and put it into a cauldron, a bubbling cauldron, and listen to the screeches, and then take out a wishbone, or pick out the bones when you're finished, and whatever bone is the magic bone will make you invisible, stuff like that. And I remember reading up about the pineal gland, but I had no idea that it was the adrenochrome until recently, and I connected all the dots, and that's why I was like, oh, Disney. When Disney closed, I knew that something was crazy, because Disney's always been connected to like the NWO and the Illuminati. I loved Disney movies, but I always knew because, I was into the cult, and I had researched all that stuff. And I used to listen to this guy named Soundless Dawn here on YouTube, and it was always all this really deep stuff about the Illuminati and the Masons and the NWO, and it's so crazy. That was like 15 years ago I was listening to it. Everything that guy said is coming true. Totally nuts. What, all the stuff that Alex Jones is always going off about is coming true. Same with David Icke, except for reptilians. I don't know about all that. But, truth is always stranger than fiction. And my world has been turned upside down and around. I need to plug my phone in. But it's just been turned upside down and around, and I've been grieving, and the loss of my job, and the loss of my relationships, and the loss of my norm, my sanity. Oops, I don't know what I did. I accidentally hit something. But anyways, I lost a part of myself, and, even during this time, it was very symbolic. Some of you don't know, but I was married previously. In my younger years, I got married when I was like 20, and I was married until I was 27 to my high school sweetheart. And we had a dog together, and his name was Chewy, and he was like the best dog in the world. He was really the best dog ever, and he used to sing whenever I would do the Blue's Clues noise. But I let Tom have him when we broke up, because I had felt so guilty about wanting to make that change. And Chewy was about 15, and during all this time of the corona and the quarantine, he finally passed away. And it was really sad and tragic. He had a UTI, and he was an old dog, and he died in my ex's arms, and it was just really sad, and I don't know, it was just not optimal. It was healing for me, though, in a way, because it was like this closure, on this chapter of my life. And my ex-husband and I were able to have some closure together in the loss of him. And it was nice, because I've had so much guilt over what happened, and now I was able to let that go. And so I've just used it as a time to start letting things go, and becoming renewed. That's why I've been gone from here. I haven't had the heart to come on and record, because I just haven't been in the space for it. I finally had it. I had 6 months of just sitting at home and listening to news. I literally would wake up and listen to news after news after news after news. And when I say news, I don't mean like CNN. I mean, I'll listen to a little bit of that, but just to hear what they're doing. But I mean C-SPAN and hear right out of the horse's mouth. I've listened to every single news briefing since this started, from start to finish. I'm not joking. Everyone that Trump came out and talked, I've listened to. And that's what changed my mind, was I'd listen to the briefing, and then I would read what they would say on the news or listen to CNN. I was like, what is going on? This is wrong. He didn't say this. And so it just became an accumulation of all these, this is not right, that's not what he said, what is going on. I finally realized that what was happening is the media is painting out Trump to be this monster because they're afraid of what their ass is going to get handed to them over the Epstein case. So that is going to be interesting, and you can hop over to my other channel for more of that. I have another channel. It's called Truth Anon. It hasn't really, I do have more followers there. I haven't really recorded many videos of myself talking, but it's mostly just me debunking news stuff and like stories. I need to get better at it. I've been slacking, and I'm sure some of you can understand. Even as a holistic, integrative wellness professional and knowing everything that I know, it is goddamn difficult to keep a routine when you're depressed. And it is really difficult to keep a routine when you're depressed and you are jobless and everything's changed. So, that being said, I have decided to get my act together, and I had been working on, how funny anyways, I'd been working on what was called a program called the Ritual Reset, and it was a program to reset your daily rituals, reset your daily routine using rituals. And I started this last year when I was kind of getting more into my own rituals of wellness, and I wanted to share that with the world, how to do that. And it's a funny thing because I slipped off, I'm going to admit it. I slipped off my routine. I gained like 10 pounds. Our gym closed, and I quit doing things at home. All I did was binge out on the news and, try to wake people up, try to get all crazy. Man, I went a little nuts for a while, and people, my friends and family will attest to that. But thank you to those of you who stuck with me and have believed in me. I really appreciate you. And I know that a lot of you out there are struggling with the same problems I am. This sense of loss and a sense of grief and hopelessness and, wonder. There's also a sense of hope and a sense of something good can come from this if we all work together and we all utilize our strengths and we just come out of it, and we create new routines and we create new pathways and we can have these conversations. There's a lot of deep conversations happening right now. There's a lot of stuff coming to the surface. And if we can break through together and we can stop listening to all this divisiveness and playing into it, we can make a change for a better world. Our future is unfathomably beautiful if we can together shift to make the changes and agree to disagree on some topics and just learn to love one another. This divisiveness is unnecessary, completely unnecessary, and just a tool of the elite corporate machine. You don't want to be a part of that, So if you're having struggles out there and you are not sure what tomorrow brings, and you're depressed, hang in there and try to incorporate some good habits and get back on a routine. And if you don't know how to do that, go to my website, www.lacyinflux.com, and download my freebie for meditation, and that's a great place to get started. I hope that all of you are thriving through this. I know it's been difficult. It's quite a paradigm shift. And if we are forced to accept a new normal, I hope it's one that is full of health, wealth, and happiness. Let us not accept their stripping of our freedoms. Let us not accept a new normal of their determination. Let us not accept becoming a drone in the Borg. We are not a part of their hive mind. So get out there and think for yourself and start doing what's good for you and your community and dig deeper. And I look forward to this new chapter, whatever it brings for all of us.